Hi everyone, I'm Wanda Martin, Canon ambassador, and in this video today I'll be telling you about my experiences with the new Canon EOS R6 camera and the imagePROGRAF Pro 300 printer. About a few months ago I got commissioned to do a fashion editorial style shoot with a ballet dancer Lee in Palermo. I was very excited. I'd never been to Palermo before, but those classical historical buildings of the city, exactly the kind of environment I like shooting in. The two locations we are talking about here, one of them is the Palazzo Conte Federico. A lot of rooms, beautiful antique furniture, nice colorful wallpapers, and the other location was the Teatro Massimo, which was built in the 19th century and it's Italy's biggest theater. I just knew that it's gonna be a perfect match with my usual visuals and with my aesthetic, because usually I'm inspired by romantic literature and the portrait paintings of the 18th and 19th century, especially the pre-Raphaelites. So the EOS R6 and I had to face some challenges. And the first challenge was low light conditions. When I was shooting in the Teatro Massimo, I was shooting Lee, my ballet dancer, with a female dancer on stage, where I could actually use the theater's lighting equipment, lighting setup. But backstage, I fell in love with some very nice hand-painted walls and some nice corners. And I was shooting over 6,400 ISO or above. Challenge number 2. So most of the time I work with models or actors or musicians, but I never usually photograph dancers. Actually, it needs a completely different approach from you, since when I'm doing my fashion editorial work, my poses are very painterly, very still. While obviously when you are working with a dancer, you want to capture the beauty and dynamism and fluidity of his movements. The EOS R6 has face tracking autofocus, which obviously helped me following his movements, and you could just easily track the eyes, the head, the body of your subject. And besides that, you can also shoot up to 20 frames per second. Just amazing to see the camera working on that high frame rate that basically makes the decisive movement easier to capture. So the camera also has 8 steps of in-body image stabilization, which basically allows you to take much longer exposure shots than what you could normally do without a tripod. So I tried to take a picture of Lee dancing and capture his blurred movement in a long exposure shot and still having the background sharp. I couldn't believe it, but I managed to handhold the camera for 4 seconds. I also had the opportunity to use a vari-angle screen the first time. We started taking pictures when suddenly a beautiful golden ray of light lit the whole room and him. The vari-angle screen made it possible to change my perspective drastically within a second and shoot it from above. And out of all the pictures I took in Palermo, those are my favorite images. Even the high dynamic range is really impressive. Even when I was taking pictures of Lee in the palazzo in front of a window, so we have these backlit images and we still have details in the highlights and the shadows. And it's an amazing film camera as well. It gives you the versatility to switch between taking pictures and filming just within a second, and it does 4K video even at 60 frames per second. Usually when I shoot an editorial or for a musician or for a commercial client, besides the images, sometimes they like to have a little mood video as well. You don't need 2 cameras anymore. Literally, you have this really versatile camera in your hands, and with just switching one button, you can just start filming right away. I just need a tool, a camera in my hands. It helps me telling the story I want to tell. Most importantly, the EOS R6 just gave me greater creative freedom, and it's very interesting how this very small and light camera has everything I needed throughout this shoot. Now let's talk a little bit about the imagePROGRAF Pro 300. So I started photography about age 16-17, and I've been working professionally for about 10 years now. And it's interesting how I grew more and more confident throughout the years with using different cameras, different lighting equipment, editing softwares, but I never really done the printing myself. printing always seemed something very mysterious and difficult for me, almost like dark arts. Every time when I needed gallery quality prints, so for example when I submitted my portfolio and my final master project at university, or when I submitted images to some competitions, or when I wanted to impress a client or an agent, always went to an external printing company. When I started playing around with the imagePROGRAF Pro 300, there was something very magical about it, and literally it's the same sort of magic, seeing your photographs coming alive into a physical form. Canon made our lives easier with actually making the printing process easy and giving us the confidence to do it ourselves in the comfort of our home or in our studio space. You can print bordered images and borderless images on both glossy and fine art media, but my personal favorites are the borderless images printed on glossy media, like this one here. So the printer has a 10 pigment ink system, 9 different colors, which delivers a very nice wide color gamut, and then you get an extra ink which lays down a clear coat on glossy media, which actually enhances dynamic range and reduces bronzing and unevening light reflections. The black density is just amazing in these prints. A matte black ink gets used on fine art paper, a photo black ink gets used on glossy media, and actually both of them deliver like super deep blacks. There's no ink switching, which also means there's no ink or time wasting. And still, we have high dynamic range, which means we have details in the highlights and the shadows still. And I was surprised how accurate the colors were. I especially love the monochrome print on fine art paper, and you still have great expression and you have really deep dramatic blacks, but still there's a nice gradation from black to grays. So we have this software and plugin here called Canon Professional Print and Layout, which again just makes the printing process much faster and very easy. And you know, you have plenty of options, but I'm just going to talk about my favorite bits. Obviously you can set what kind of paper you are printing on. It comes loaded with all the Canon Pro photo paper profiles. My favorite part is that the software allows you to select ICC profiles for whichever paper you are using, which basically just ensures you're gonna get accurate colors in any type of media. It ensures you're gonna get nice skin colors, and basically to get the best possible result of your printer, of the particular paper you are using, and of your image. This software also allows you to sharpen your image based on the EOS R6 or based on the EOS camera data, because depending on the paper sometimes you can lose some sharpness. One more thing I really loved in the software was that very easily you can just convert your images into monochrome without using any other software. We are talking about true black and white prints here, so there's no color cast. I'm not sure if you ever experienced that sometimes with black and white prints there can be some greenish tint to it. Well, it's not gonna happen now because these are two true black and white prints. Before I printed this picture, my other favorite thing is that you can actually print out a pattern print, which is a contact sheet sort of thing. Basically, it's a contact sheet of one particular image showing different brightness and contrast options, and then you can decide which one you want to go with, and according to that, you can do some adjustments to the image before you actually print. So basically, just to sum it up, throughout this whole process, from the shoot itself happening in Palermo till the actual physical prints, I was just using everything Canon, the EOS R6, a Canon camera, Canon lenses, Canon software, Canon printer, Canon paper, Canon ink. So we had this whole unified ecosystem that made the workflow just much faster and consistent. The most fun part was just messing around, playing around, trying out different settings, trying out different papers, literally just experimenting with the printer. And you could do it with confidence because you're still gonna have an outstanding result. I was just thinking how I'm not gonna be afraid of doing my own professional photo prints at home anymore, and basically anyone could do it. Canon just made it easy for us.